Hello, hello. I am going to share, if I can find it, where did it go? Good morning. I'm trying to find something important to read. Okay, so while we're waiting for people to join, shoot, I just lost my page. I wanted to share with you a really important message that I just lost. Shoot! If you haven't read this book, it's amazing. I'll try to find it and post it afterwards. But while we are waiting, I got a great message from Robin Sharma, as usual. His daily messages. I'm having some issues with Instagram here, but okay. So today's message from Robin Sharma reads this. Awareness precedes change. Before you can change something in your life, you must first become aware of it and begin to really pay attention to it. You must build some awareness around it. You will never be able to eliminate a weakness you don't even know exists. So it's actually it's a perfect message for the video that we're gonna, for the live that we're gonna do today, which is all around fears. When you don't have any awareness about your fears, it's pretty tough to soften them or heal them. So awareness is a big piece of this whole puzzle that we are. Hey, hun, from Florida. So this is a big piece of the puzzle, this awareness piece. Nothing happens, no growth happens, no expansion, no elevation can happen without first having the awareness around whatever it is. So we're going to talk about disabling our fears. And I'd like to start by sharing that fears are a human experience, and they are created the day we are born. They start to be created the day we are born from the people around us. And they ultimately build and create the cage that we end up growing up in and living in and becoming sort of comfortably numb in. So the challenge there is, yes, as parents, we need to teach our children various lessons like watch out for cars, beware of strangers and drugs and spiders and snakes and crocodiles and dinosaurs and whatever it is that you have to teach them. The challenge is to be able to teach the lesson through the power of awareness rather than through the power of fear. Like even something, if you just take a spider as an example, if you have a profound fear of spiders, chances are you're going to teach your child that spiders are bad, scary, evil, gross, stay away, scream, yell. Your kid's going to pick that up. And that entire fear will be built inside your child's head. Because that's where all of our fears are created, is in our head. And they're created through the experiences of life and the journey that we are on through life. But they're still created in our minds. And I love the acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real, or fear everything and run. So the one thing I just want to be clear of is that I'm not suggesting for 1 second that trauma that has been experienced lives in our minds. Would never ever want anyone to think that I think that. What I am saying is that trauma that has happened creates the reality of our lives, and the fears, even if it's long ago and the trauma is long over, the fear that was created around the trauma remains, and that becomes our reality. The cool thing is we can change our reality. So the second piece that's important to remember is that our fears aren't necessarily something that we want to get rid of or fix, or it makes us broken. What we want to do is heal them or soften them and learn to live with them. And we do that through the conscious light of awareness. I'm having some issues with connection over here, so I just want to repeat that. We heal and soften them through the power of conscious awareness. So the more we recognize and understand our fears, the more we can shine a spotlight on them. And the light is what depowers or disables our fears. So the shadows and the darkness are actually where our fears live and thrive and grow. So the more that we can shine a spotlight on them, the smaller and less power they hold over us. When we hide them or hide from them, they hold all the power. So I wanted to come up with some of the most common fears that people have. I'm just going to give you 10. And the cool thing is every fear has an advantage and a risk. So depending on whether your fear lives in the shadow or the light will determine which end of the spectrum shows up the most strong for you. Shows up the strongest for you. So if your fear lives in the shadows or in the darkness, chances are you're going to live with the risk of the fear. And if you are working really hard at softening and healing the fear, so you're constantly shining light on it, then chances are you have the opportunity to live with your fear through the power of the advantage. So just very quickly, the ones that I came up with, and there's a lot more if you want to share with me another one, then just pop it into the chat boxes. So loss, betrayal, abandonment, intimacy, rejection, authority, self-expression, that's a big one for women, failure, inferiority, powerlessness, and judgment. Those are some of the biggest and most common fears, and every one of them has a risk and an advantage. I'm actually going to use self-expression as one of the examples this morning because I feel like our voices have been silenced for so long that we've learned to quiet our self-expression. So with self-expression, you may have a fear of self-expression because you were criticized so much as a child. You're too sensitive, be quiet, don't talk that way, you shouldn't say that, you're not allowed to speak up, all those types of things. What was the classic line from like the 70s or 80s? Disconnection, good one, yeah. You should be seen and not heard. Yeah, so fear of expression. So self-expression has the risk of having an overwhelming need to please, like eager to please, but it has the advantage of self-acceptance. So someone who lives very powerfully with the fear of self-expression, if it lives in the shadows, they have no idea that they have this fear, then chances are they are going to be a people pleaser, a big time people pleaser. And people pleasing, when you have healthy boundaries, is a beautiful character trait. People pleasing, when you have no boundaries, comes at a very high cost. You become the last rung on the ladder, the priority ladder. So really understanding your fear and recognizing that it has a risk and an advantage becomes a really powerful game that you can play with your fear. So I think I'm going to pick betrayal as another one. So betrayal, that can be any type of betrayal. It could be from your religion. It could be from your community or from your race or from your teachers or your spouse or your boss or your coach. It doesn't matter who betrayed you. The the wound that it creates that stays is so powerful and so deep. And you may have been betrayed by many different people. I know I certainly was. And the risk and the advantage that comes along with betrayal is the risk is you have an overwhelming sense of mistrust. You don't trust people. You don't want to trust people. You won't put yourself out there for fear of being betrayed. And again, that comes at a really high cost. You miss out on potential relationships. You miss out on potential experiences. You miss out on potential adventures when mistrust becomes a big part of how you navigate the world. Now, that fear of betrayal, if it lives in the shadows or the darkness or the back of the cave, then mistrust is going to be a very powerful, is going to have a very powerful hold on you. Now, the advantage of betrayal, when you have shone the spotlight on it and you get to really understand that betrayal is something that you've been living with, you have the opportunity to flip it, and the advantage is trust. Because trust actually lives within you. If you trust that you're going to be okay, if you trust that your intuition and your gut are more powerful than your brain, if you trust that you can use your voice to say, then you can bring that fear of betrayal along with you without it driving the bus. So let's pick one more. Let's do inferiority as a fear. So inferiority, maybe you have this fear because you grew up in a family with 5 siblings and they all went on to become doctors and you became sold ice cream. Or maybe inferiority was because you had a learning disability and nobody understood it or diagnosed it. And so you were meant to feel stupid or different or dumb or whatever it is. So the not good enough ever or that type of thinking creates the fear of inferiority. Now, if inferiority lives in the shadows, the risk is jealousy. Just a burning jealousy. Why can't I be like that? Why can't it be easy for me? Why? I don't understand. Why does she get it all? Why does everything work out? She's painted with a golden brush. So jealousy comes at a very, very, very high cost. It can eat you from the inside out. On the flip side of that, if your fear lives in the light, the conscious light of awareness, then the advantage is self-confidence. And self-confidence from a place of grace, not self-confidence from a place of self-centeredness. So every fear has a risk and it has an advantage. And I really, really would love for you to sit down today with your journal and get really, really clear on what your fear is, your greatest fear or your top 3 fears. And if you need some help with the risk and the advantage, just remember you have to go into the closed Facebook group, the Voice of Choice Conversation. So if you're watching this on Instagram, you want to make sure that you're a part of that group. You can post your fears there and I will give you the risk and the advantage. So fears have us hide. They have us blame and make excuses and numb and play small and resist and escape and play in victim mode and complain and procrastinate. Those are strategies that we use to navigate the world in order to protect and live life through the power of fear. That way of showing up creates someone who is negative and trapped in every area of life, and she becomes her own worst bully. She's generally energy draining to herself and to everyone around her. And she is always second guessing herself, and she silences her intuition. And remember, ladies, your intuition, your power lives in your intuition. If you haven't seen the video on intuition, just scroll back in the Facebook page, and I did one about a month or 6 weeks ago around silencing your intuition. Here's the thing. The story is boring, it's old, it's repetitive, and it's completely disempowering. And every fear has a glorious, amazing alter ego. And that alter ego, we are born with. We're born with it. It's not that we don't create our alter egos, unlike fears that are created through the power of the human experience. Our glorious alter egos we are born with. They are the CEOs of our life. And the CEO of our life, through the power of, the experiences of life, she had her voice silenced. She had her voice silenced, she had her actions questioned, and she had her thoughts dismissed. She learned through the experiences of life to be quiet, stay small, status quo, don't disrupt anything. But here's the thing, the CEO, the alter ego of all your fears, she is the warrior, she is the lover, she is the magician, and she is the empress of your life. And she's there. She is inside every single one of you. We just learn to silence her when we close the door on our cage. She is unwavering in her values, in her self-care, in her boundaries and her purpose and her voice and her standards. She's committed and determined and defiant, and she acts from a deep sense of knowing, even when she doesn't know how. She doesn't let that get in her way. She is inclusive and open and collaborative and vulnerable. That's you. That's every one of you. She's powerful because she believes in herself in a way that is unwavering. She trusts her knowing and her gifts and her purpose in life. And she unapologetically does this from a place of grace and kindness and truth. And it's her truth, no one else's truth. She's done being told what to say and what to think and what to do and how to live her life. She's done living obediently through the expectations of everyone else. She has allowed her fears to ride shotgun, and that is how you live an inspired and magical life. You continuously shine a spotlight on your fears through the conscious light of awareness, and then you take them on your journey with you. If you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to get rid of your fears, you may as well stay stuck, because that's not the game. That's not the game that you need to play. You don't need to fix them or get rid of them. You just need to soften them and heal them and understand them, and then bring them along on the journey with you. So that is our little chit-chat around fears and disabling our fears. Like I said, if you want to understand your fears a little bit more, specifically the risk and the advantage, just make sure that you go to Voice of Choice Conversation and ask to join the group, and then you can post it in there and I'll answer. And if anyone is interested in deep diving around their fears and their archetypes and everything else that has to do with your personal expansion and your spiritual growth, then just remember I've got 2 huge programs that are available. One that's available called Finding Me Formula. That's for people that just want to sort of dip their toes in the personal growth and, maybe aren't too far down the road. That's a beautiful program. It's 36 videos. And then the other one, the Divine Warriors, is a deep dive. Like, it's a big, deep dive. You're ready to really expand spiritually and personally, then that would be the program. If you need it or want any information, you can just reach out to me. We can book a call and chat about it. Otherwise, I wish you a glorious Tuesday. Yep, it is Tuesday. And as always, I'm very honored when you make the time to join me live. I will post these both as a recording in the Facebook group. And I hope you learned something and got something and it benefited you. All the best to each one of you. Take good care. Chat soon.